Today, we're diving into one of the biggest financial scandals in European history. We're talking about how a tiny bank branch in Estonia, of all places, turned into a giant laundromat for 200 billion euros in dirty money. It's an incredible story of ignored warnings, massive system failures, and a scandal that really shook the entire banking world. Let's get right into it.
We could start anywhere, but let's just start with this quote. These 4 words from Danske Bank's own internal audit team, not working at all. Look, this wasn't some tiny oversight or a simple mistake. This was a total, catastrophic breakdown of the very systems designed to stop financial crime. And understanding that failure is the key to this entire story.
So where does the 200 billion euro scandal kick off? You're probably picturing a flashy financial capital, right? London, New York, maybe Frankfurt. Nope. Our story starts in a small branch office in Tallinn, Estonia. This one single office would become the unlikely epicenter of a global financial earthquake.
Okay, get ready for this number. 200 billion euros. That is the absolutely mind-boggling amount of money that flowed through this one tiny branch between 2007 and 2015. Just to put that into perspective for you, that's more than the entire gross domestic product of Estonia itself flowing through one bank office. And almost all of it came from a very particular kind of customer.
The money was pouring in from what the banks call non-resident accounts. Think shell companies and individuals, mostly from Russia and other former Soviet states. Now, these accounts were basically screaming, high risk. But did the banks slow down? Nope, they just kept opening thousands of them. For years, warnings were coming from inside the bank and from outside, and for years, they were just ignored.
So the big question is, how on earth does a modern, sophisticated bank let something like this happen? I mean, we're not talking about some back alley operation here. And the answer is, it wasn't just one thing. It was a cascade of failures, one after another, building up for almost a decade.
This timeline really lays it all out. This wasn't a secret that just exploded overnight. It was a train wreck in slow motion. The bank knew about the risk from the very beginning, back in 2007. Then, in 2013, a whistleblower spelled everything out in detail. In 2014, their own auditors confirmed the worst. But that report, it somehow got buried and never made it to the board. And then, in 2015, came the biggest red flag of all. Bank of America cut them off. In the world of banking, that is a 5-alarm fire. It's a clear signal that a major global bank does not trust the money coming out of your branch.
And yeah, this slide really gets to the heart of it. The technology they were using? Outdated. The monitoring of all this money flying around? Barely there. The rules for anti-money laundering, or AML, just completely inadequate. And maybe the most damning part? The culture. The really critical reports, the ones screaming stop, they just got buried. They never reached the executives who could have pulled the plug. Instead of shutting it down, they actually kept growing it, chasing those huge profits.
Okay, so we've got all this dirty money sloshing around, but where did it actually come from? Well, to really get why a massive laundering operation like this even exists, you gotta look at the crimes it's trying to hide. It often starts with something like tax evasion, but laundering is a whole other crime on its own.
So, it's super important to get this straight because there's a huge difference here. Tax avoidance on one side is legal. It's using the rules of the tax code, deductions, credits, that kind of stuff, to lower your bill. But tax evasion, that's deliberately breaking the law. It's hiding income, making up deductions. It's a crime. And when you have money from a crime, you need a way to make it look clean.
And that's exactly where money laundering steps in. It's the art of taking that dirty money from crime, from corruption, from tax evasion, and running it through a whole series of transactions. It's like putting it through a spin cycle, so that it comes out the other side looking like it came from a totally legitimate source.
But it gets way more sophisticated than just wiring money between a few bank accounts. One of the most clever ways to launder money involves the actual, physical trade of goods across borders. And these are the kinds of complex schemes that can thrive when a bank like Danske has let its defenses down completely.
I know, it sounds like something straight out of a Hollywood script, right? But this is a very real problem for criminal organizations. How do you make a pile of drug money look like you just had a great year selling toys? Well, the answer is a technique called trade-based money laundering.
So here's a classic way it works. It's called over-invoicing. Let's say a criminal has $500,000 in dirty cash. They find an exporter who's already shipping $1 million worth of real goods. The exporter then creates a phony invoice, but instead of $1 million, they write $1.5 million.
The criminal pays that full inflated price. So the exporter gets the $1 million they were owed plus a nice cut, and just like that, the criminal's dirty $500,000 has been washed, disguised as part of a legitimate international business deal.
And hey, this isn't just some textbook theory. This really happened. In a famous case, a toy company in LA was used as a front. It would take millions in cash from drug sales, use that dirty money to buy toys from China, and then ship the toys to Colombia. Once the toys were sold in Colombian stores, the drug cartels got paid back in clean local pesos. The dirty US dollars had been magically transformed into legitimate toy revenue.
So a scandal this big, I mean 200 billion euros, you can bet it wasn't going to just blow over. The fallout was massive, and it forced regulators across Europe to finally wake up and take serious action against money laundering. And you can see the impact right here. I mean, it is just night and day. Before the scandal, Danish regulators were doing, maybe 7 or 8 anti-money laundering inspections a year on average? Then, in 2018, the year the scandal broke wide open, that number shot up to 45. It was an absolute wake-up call that sent shockwaves through the entire regulatory system.
And it wasn't just about doing more inspections. The whole system got an upgrade. The European Banking Authority, the EBA, was basically given a new set of teeth. So where national regulators had failed before, the EBA can now step in and force an investigation. Where the rules were all over the place, it can now enforce one common standard. It's a direct response to stop one country's weak link from breaking the entire European chain.
Okay, so a bank in Estonia, a bunch of complex rules. Why should you actually care about any of this? Well, it matters a lot, because when criminals launder money to evade taxes, guess who has to pick up the tab? We do. When a criminal enterprise uses laundered money to unfairly undercut your local restaurant or hardware store, legitimate businesses get hurt. And maybe most importantly, this dirty money is the fuel for so much harm in the world, from drug cartels to terrorist groups. Scandals like this just destroy the trust our entire financial system is built on.
And all of this leaves us with a really tough final question. The Danske Bank case proved that even with all the rules in the world, the failures can be epic. In a global system where trillions of dollars can cross the globe in the blink of an eye, it really makes you wonder, are the regulators, the good guys, always doomed to be playing catch-up?